somebody could take this the wrong way for sure.
Yeah.
At the beginning, at January 2022, so I had some traction, but I hadn't yet launched the drone delivery portion of the business. I guess in a way we pivoted. We still do a lot of the regular services as well, but I was at their house in Ottawa, and we were chatting a little bit more about what I was planning for the future with the company, because at this point in time, I had been now unemployed for 2 years or so, a year and a half. And so while I was making money, it wasn't like a life-changing amount yet. And so it was one of those things that he had come up to me, and I had developed this whole plan of what would drone delivery look like. Mm-hmm. And he had really questioned me hard. And in a way that was, you could interpret it as really a negative signal, but I actually interpreted it as positive, where he was willing to challenge me and say, make sure that you're focusing your time on, he cares so much about me. He wants to ensure I'm not wasting my time.
Yeah.
And so he was pushing me, and now he's super supportive. And even shortly after that, they had been super great in not just the emotional support, but even my mom will edit some of my marketing papers, and she will sort of review some of the documents that I've created. This was at the beginning of 2022. Mm-hmm. And so while they're questioning me, it's doing it in a place where this is a lot of money that I would be committing. It's a lot of time and effort. And so they want to make sure it was well thought out. And I think it's also, if you're able to be kind of flip-flopped by people simply saying, hey, how's this going to work? This is going to be really difficult. Like Amazon's been trying to do drone delivery for a while.
Yeah.
Then maybe you're not the right person to do it. And so I think it was a really formative sort of, it thickened my skin a little bit to sort of say, no, I actually believe I can. And I think that's honestly half the battle.
And what you said there really resonates with me, because I had the same, when I was starting the hat company, like my mom was like, this isn't going to work. Like she didn't say that to my face, but she kind of like, I kind of felt it.
I got it to my face a little bit,
yeah. Exactly. But I think that my parents would have been able to question me deeply on it, except I don't think I had like the emotional maturity to take it. Because every time they talked about it, I would, no, you don't know what you're talking about, or I'd come away. So it seems to me that like, you welcomed it in a sense. You're like, okay, you're right. Like, so it kind of helped you like when there's a diamond, you're supposed to cut it, right? So it kind of like help you rough out around the edges, right?
Definitely. I mean, it still kind of felt like a slap in the face a little bit, but it's like anything is a slap in the face. Like if you came to me, hey man, I want to give you some personal feedback. Like that's hard. There are very few people in your life that can do that. And many of my friends, I might not even approach it to them. And so this is the type of thing where it depends how you look at it. And if you internalize everything and say, oh, it's like, why are they doing this to me? Instead of just like, they want me to be the best I can be. And it's like, these are my parents. They literally created me. So it's like, they have some level of say in terms of, hey, how's it going? Like, and I think that actually helped a lot for me to almost have a little bit of deference to them, to sort of say, I will listen to you. You deserve my respect and my empathy. Where I think it would have been harder, some people in my life, if they had come to me and said that. And it's the way that people do it as well. It's like, if you come in a respectful way, most things are very manageable.
Yeah, I think it's because your parents do, like, they do want you to succeed. They do want you to do well. And it's interesting because, like, at the end of the day, my mom was kind of right. You know, like she told me about this business town trust. Like, yeah, this is going to work. So your mom kind of always knows, you know, which is kind of funny.
They always know.
They always know.
I texted her that a couple of weeks ago, just like, you're always right. Like everything they're always right. Said, they're always right. Yeah. They're literally us, but just 20, 30 years in the future.
Exactly.
And we forget that sometimes. Yeah. And we're like, oh, this is all so new. Let's go explore. It's so exciting. But they're like, hey, careful now. Don't overextend. So
how do you manage, this was my struggle, and I want to know this. How do you manage like the dichotomy of, I'm doing something they've never done. They have never done this. So, and you hear a lot in the entrepreneur space, like, if they haven't done it, why you're listening to them?
Yeah.
So how do you manage between like listening to the advice they give and also being like, okay, but take it with a grain of salt?
Yeah, that was super tough. My dad had never raised, like, he's a very smart, successful entrepreneur, but he had never raised any external funding. And so I came in super hot with this. Like, I was in multiple different incubators, and the main focus of the incubators that they were pushing was this sort of VC unicorn status. And I think I have mixed feelings towards that, because a lot of these companies end up raising a ton of money and failing. But I think the way that we had approached it, which was still maintain strong cash flow, but invest heavily and raise money if you need to in ideas that you believe will scale rapidly, that's where the drone delivery idea came in. And that was where it definitely was more of a disconnect. But at times it's more about confidence in yourself. It's about not always having every answer to every question, but still understanding, hey, we've done the best that we can to prep. Let's focus on a launch. And so I think that's really what my mindset was, where I was like, I do not want to be sitting in Toronto looking out my condo window and seeing drones fly by doing deliveries. And I'm not a part of that. 100%. And I think to me, that was the biggest motivator, where I was like, does it really matter if the people that I really care about say, hey, maybe this isn't for me? It's like, well, they haven't gone through my experiences. They haven't done the years building the licenses, building and flying these actual drones and doing all these services. So they're not understanding, they're not seeing the same articles I am. Like, my LinkedIn feed is just full of drones. I catered it to be that way. So I'm aware of what the industry is progressing at, but it's just, you have to kind of still trust your own gut, even with your parents. And I think that's like everything. You can't be exactly like them.
Yeah.
You don't want to be exactly like them, but it's okay from an emotional standpoint, from a physical well-being standpoint, as well as to be challenged. That's super important. People who have no sort of involvement in it, like my mom has no idea about drones, but she is able to kind of distill the information I give her into, this is what we're doing for the customer, this is how much we're charging, this is how often we're doing it, and understand, sort of build this sort of value mapping almost about like, hey, what is a good use of his time? Is it worth it? Is he wasting time? And so I think a lot of the times they're there to just catch you in the event of a failure. I think in the upside, they have no idea I don't even know half the time about where some of the industry regulations are going. We're kind of making our best guesses with the information we have.
And the good thing about mothers is like, there's such a good like sample size of the average consumer. Like, if you tell your mom like, hey, I'm doing drone delivery, she's like, oh, I don't get it. How does that, like, you know what I mean? So like right away, like, I heard this example. It's like, well, if you're doing massage oil, right? If you're doing massage oil, you're like, you go to your mom, hey, is this massage parlor going to work? It's like, how much it costs? Yeah. You know, some people are like, oh, we use the best massage oil. It's like, well, it's all the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so they do have like really good market research.